if I'm shooting, I go meditate before I go shooting, then meditate at lunch or meditate after I finish. And every place I've ever gone, if you ask for a quiet room, even if they've never heard of meditation, people say, oh, yes, come with me, and they get me a little quiet room. It's very beautiful. And then you just dive in, and you don't go in there necessarily to get ideas. You go in there to expand that container of bliss, consciousness, intelligence, creativity, harmony, coherence, love, energy, power. All this starts expanding, and it's so beautiful. And then when you come out all energized, refreshed, blissful, then those ideas are easier to catch. It's like the net goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and you can catch those fish.
And also, you said you started meditating 31 years ago?
32.
32, well. And what originally piqued your interest in meditation?
That's what you heard. The word enlightenment, I thought, is it possible for human beings to gain enlightenment? And what is that?
Okay.
And is it possible to really get happiness going from within? Because we are always looking out for happiness. And we live in a world of change. Everything is always changing. And if you see this car that you love, and you want this car, it's going to make you happy, you save up, or if you have the money, you get that car. And you brush your teeth looking at your car. It's so beautiful. It's so much happiness. And you drive it and keep it clean, and you're going along. Then the time passes. And a year later, it's kind of dirty with some scratches and dents. 2 years later, you're driving down the road, and you spot a car that you want. And this car starts crying because you don't want it anymore. True happiness grows from within. When you dive within and really dive all the way and experience that ocean of consciousness, which Dr. John Hagelin's science calls the unified field, oneness, unity, oneness and unity. It's so beautiful. And as he says, at that fundamental level, we are all one. We're one world family. On the surface, we're all different, which is always going to be, but underneath, we're all one. It's so beautiful.
And also the Return of the Jedi. But thank you very much, Mr. Lynch, and I'm going to take a seat.
Well, I was asked by George, but I told him, George, you should direct this film. This is your ideas and your film. And please, George, you do that. But
should I go first? Yeah, thank you. Hello, David.
hello.
What's up? My name is Martin.
What is your name, Martin?
Martin. Yeah, I'm a young Argentinian filmmaker, and I have two questions, if it's possible. One, it's about a film that I'm doing, and it's more about a personal situation. Where I came first to this country, the first reaction that I have was that people was calling me like ADD and bipolar, and I'm not that crazy. I swear. Well, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, what's your reaction when, I mean, like the American, all the medicines and, people are getting so focused into, depression and, the Prozac and Ritalin and all that. And, I know it's an industry, but, they affect to people that, they could, they are hyperactive, but they could be producing much more. So, I feel that you were one of those people and you get to focus with your meditation. I found my ways,
This is a very good question, and I think what you'll hear from Dr. John Hagelin will give much more of an answer than I can give, except that there's lots of studies going on right this very minute of what meditation does to these so-called disorders, and how people are benefiting so greatly from it without drugs. So, and then we have Dr. Fred Travis, who can speak about that as well.
Yeah, And I have a second question. It was about your film, The Straight Story. What was your motivation behind it? I mean, it's so different, from your
Well,
other
it's
films.
similar in a weird way with The Elephant Man. I had zero interest in The Straight Story, hearing about it before I read the script. And I'd been hearing about it for a couple of years. And one day I was asked to read the script by Mary Sweeney. And I sat down, started reading it, and I just felt. And I wanted to see, it's like catching an idea. A script is ideas all organized for you, but it's the same principle. As you read it, you see it, you smell it, you feel it, and you see how cinema could do that. And so I got fired up because of the emotion of that story. And it still gets me.
Yeah. Thank you then.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. I would just be interested in hearing you talk maybe a little bit about coincidence, perhaps what role it played in your life, or if you pay attention to it, and maybe if you could even speak on if you see any differences or boundaries between coincidence and intuition.
That's a very good question. Coincidence I call happy accidents. And sometimes if something is going wrong, you might say, that's not a very good thing, but at the end of something going wrong, it may have been all going wrong to show you a very good thing, which goes to staying alert as you go forward, making a project, say, for a film. I can't think anyway, though, of happy accidents. There's just been so many. The one that comes to mind is Frank, Bob, Killer Bob in Twin Peaks. How that came about was very interesting. Frank Silva was a set decorator, and we were in the house that we were using for Laura Palmer's house, and we were shooting the pilot, and I was out in the hall underneath the fan, and Frank was moving a dresser, which when he moved it blocked the doorway, and I heard a woman say, "Oh, Frank, don't block yourself into the room." And I didn't even turn around. I just pictured Frank in that room. And then I thought, wait a minute. And I ran in, and I said, "Frank, are you an actor?" And he said, "Well, yes, I am," because everybody in Hollywood's an actor. Maybe everyone in the world. So I said, "You're going to be in this thing." And I just had him go down behind the bed and hold, and panned across twice without him and once with him, because I didn't know what it was. And then we went downstairs and we were shooting. And we were shooting a scene where Grace Zabriskie, Laura Palmer's mother, sees something in her mind's eye late at night, alone, and bolts upright. So the operator was on the wheels, and he has to crank up to follow her with the lens, and she bolts up screaming, and he cranks up, and he's got her. And I said, "Perfect, beautiful." And he said, Sean, the operator, said, "No, it's not beautiful." And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Someone was reflected in the mirror." And I said, "Who was reflected in the mirror?" He said, "Frank was reflected in the mirror." So it's a very happy accident.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
My name is Jason, and I was wondering if you could tell me how transcendental meditation is different from other forms of meditation, and if it's worth the $2,500.
That's a very good question. Let's talk about the money first. To me, it's worth far more than that. And we have a thing where we think something spiritual or something that's supposed to be good for you should be free. And yet, all these things we want cost a lot of money. And the price, to me, is it illumines the strength of the desire. If you want that, you'll get it. And I know people who don't have much money, they find themselves wanting it and they get it.